November 1932. The Australian Army goes to war. Machine guns, 10,000 rounds of ammunition, trucks, trained soldiers. The enemy, 20,000 emus. This is a true story. It's in the parliamentary record, and it does not end the way the army hoped. This is the Great Emu War. The day a modern military lost to birds. To understand how a country ends up declaring war on its own wildlife, you have to go back to the end of the First World War. Australia promised its returning soldiers a fresh start. Cheap land on the edge of the Western Australian outback. Grow wheat, they said. Build a future. The land was harsh. The rain barely came. Then the Great Depression hit. Wheat prices collapsed, and the subsidies the government had promised never arrived. By October 1932, those veteran farmers were hanging on by their fingernails. And that's when the emus came. 20,000 of them. Every year after breeding season, emus migrate towards the coast. But this year, the farms were in the way. Cleared paddocks, ripening wheat, and water troughs laid on. To an emu, this wasn't a farm. It was a buffet. They flattened the fences. They ate the crops. And through every broken fence came rabbits, finishing whatever the emus left behind. So the farmers, ex-soldiers, who knew exactly what a machine gun could do, asked the government for a very specific kind of help. Not money, guns. The Minister of Defence, Sir George Pearce, said yes. On paper, it was simple pest control. Major G.P.W. Meredith of the 7th Heavy Battery would take 2 Lewis machine guns, weapons firing 500 rounds a minute, and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. 2 gunners versus 20,000 flightless birds. What could possibly go wrong? The press came along to film the easy victory. On the 2nd of November near Campion, they found their first flock, around 50 birds. The gunners set up, took aim, opened fire, and the emus simply split up, small groups sprinting in every direction. A handful of birds fell. The rest vanished into the scrub at 50 kilometers an hour. 2 days later, Meredith tried an ambush. His men lay hidden beside a dam as more than 1,000 emus marched in. Perfect range, perfect targets. The Lewis gun fired and jammed. 12 birds down. The other 1,000 gone. So Meredith escalated. He mounted a machine gun on the back of a truck to run them down. The emus outran the truck, and the ride was so rough. The gunner never fired a shot. Worse, the birds seemed to learn. Observers swore each mob now posted a lookout. A big, black-plumed bird, standing sentry while the others fed, screaming a warning at the first sign of the trucks. One ornithologist wrote, completely straight-faced, that the Emu Command had evidently ordered guerrilla tactics. Emus can't fly, but they can take a bullet and keep running. Meredith, a man who'd faced real artillery in the First World War, was in awe. If we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, he said, it would face any army in the world. They can face machine guns with the invulnerability of tanks. After a week of fighting, 2,500 rounds fired for, at best, a few hundred birds, out of 20,000. Then the newspapers got the story, and it went 1930s viral. In Parliament, one member asked whether a medal would be struck for this war. Another suggested any medals should go. to the emus, who had, he noted, won every round so far. The government pulled the troops out, the farmers begged, and the guns came back for round two. A month of fighting, nearly 10,000 rounds. Meredith claimed 986 confirmed kills, roughly 10 bullets per bird. On the 10th of December 1932, the army withdrew for good. The emus held the field. The farmers asked for the military again in 1934, in 1943, and in 1948. Canberra's answer, every single time, absolutely not. In the end, a bounty system quietly did what machine guns couldn't, and it was a fence, hundreds of kilometers of it, that finally kept the emus out of the wheat. Today, the emu is protected. It stands on Australia's coat of arms, chosen, they say, because it cannot walk backwards. Neither, it turns out, can it lose. The Great Emu War lasted just over a month. Casualties, roughly 1,000 emus, one dented military reputation, and not a single human. 90 years on, it remains perhaps the only war in history where the enemy was a bird, and the bird won.